8 Best Ways to Stop Frequent Urination at Night. I was sitting on the edge of the exam table, cold paper crinkling beneath me, trying not to shiver in that sterile little room with the flickering fluorescent light. The doctor glanced at my chart, then at me, and said in the same voice you'd use to talk about the weather, at your age, it's just something you live with. For words that settled like a weight in my chest. You see, I hadn't been sleeping, not really, for years. Waking up 3, sometimes 4 times a night to pee. Stumbling half asleep in the dark, knees aching, heart pounding, praying I wouldn't fall again. But when he said just something you live with, my mind screamed, but I don't want to live like this. I walked out of that office feeling dismissed, but also determined. That day, I stopped accepting just aging as an answer. And I started asking better questions. What if it's not just old age? What if there's something I can do? This is the story of how I took back my nights. Not with pills, not with gimmicks, but with 5 changes backed by science, and tested by me. And they worked. At first, I typed in questions that felt silly. Why do older people pee at night? Can bladder wake you up from sleep? The internet gave me a mix of useless opinions and flashy miracle cures. But tucked between ads for herbal supplements and adult incontinence briefs, I started seeing the same word, Nocturia. I'd never heard of it before. Turns out, it's the medical term for exactly what I was experiencing, waking up during the night to urinate. And it wasn't just me. Millions of older adults deal with it, especially after 60. The more I read, the more things clicked. I learned about vasopressin, a hormone that helps the kidneys slow urine production at night. As we age, that hormone drops. That's part of why our bladders fill up faster after midnight. I read studies from the NIH and Sleep Foundation about how the bladder becomes more sensitive with age. Even a small amount of urine starts to feel urgent. I'd always blamed myself. Too much tea, a small bladder, bad luck. But it wasn't just that. It was biology. And understanding it gave me power. So I grabbed an old notebook and started tracking, not just how many times I got up, but what I ate and drank, how late I had dinner, what position I slept in. Patterns started to emerge. For the first time, I wasn't just reacting. I was investigating. And one night, in the quiet glow of my tablet, I wrote down the words that changed everything. What if I could fix this? With small changes. Not with another prescription. Not with denial. But by understanding what my body really needed. And that's when the healing truly began. The 5 fixes that changed my life. Number 1, my 7 p.m. fluid cutoff. I'll be honest, I used to think I was doing everything right. A cup of chamomile tea after dinner, maybe a few sips of water while folding laundry, and on chilly nights, a bowl of light chicken soup to keep warm. It all felt harmless, comforting, even. But night after night, I was waking up 2, 3, sometimes 4 times just to pee. I'd crawl out of bed groggy, knees aching, and wobble down the hallway half asleep. I never questioned whether my nighttime sipping was part of the problem, until I stumbled across an article from the NIH that stopped me in my tracks. It turns out, as we get older, our bodies make less of a hormone called vasopressin. This hormone's job is to tell the kidneys to slow urine production while we sleep. But when vasopressin drops, which it often does after age 60, the kidneys don't get the message. They just keep pumping out urine as if it's the middle of the day. That means more pressure on the bladder, and more wake-ups during the night. That was the turning point for me. I decided to try what I now call my fluid curfew. At 7 p.m. sharp, I stopped drinking anything. No tea. No sips of water. No brothy soups. It felt extreme at first, silly even. I worried I'd get thirsty or feel parched. But I stuck to it. And within a week, I noticed something remarkable. I was only waking up twice instead of 3 or 4 times. Now, I still keep a small glass of water by my bed, just in case I wake up coughing or need a sip for dry mouth. But I rarely touch it. My body has adjusted. And that one simple boundary gave me back a whole hour of sleep I didn't know I'd been missing. If you're struggling with frequent nighttime urination, start here. It's gentle, it's free, and it might just be your first real step toward deeper, uninterrupted sleep. Number 2. My legs up. TV hour. Around dinner time, my feet would always start to puff up. I used to joke that I had grandma ankles, but inside, it worried me. My slippers would pinch, and my legs felt like heavy logs by bedtime. I figured it was just part of aging or maybe a sign I'd been on my feet too much. What I didn't know was that all that swelling wasn't just cosmetic. It was sneaking into my sleep. One night, while I was scrolling through a health newsletter online, I read something fascinating. The swelling in our legs isn't just a blood flow issue, it's fluid. And when you lie down, especially after sitting or standing all day, your body starts reabsorbing that fluid. It travels back into your bloodstream and straight to your kidneys. That surge of fluid, it gets turned into urine. Which explains why I often had to pee shortly after going to bed, even if I hadn't had anything to drink. So I made a small change. I grabbed 2 pillows and plopped them on top of the ottoman. Every night before bed, while I watched Jeopardy or caught the local news, I'd kick my feet up. Nothing glamorous, just a small tilt to let gravity do the work. Within days, I noticed something remarkable. My midnight bathroom trips dropped from 3 to 2, then to just 1. My ankles weren't ballooning by 8 p.m. anymore. My slippers slipped on without a struggle. And I wasn't waking up with that uncomfortable, tight skin feeling on my calves. This wasn't some fancy medical device or a prescription. Just 2 pillows and 30 minutes of letting my legs rest above my heart. Science supports it, too. Elevating the legs encourages lymphatic drainage and venous return, helping the body process fluid before bedtime. Sometimes, the smallest habits make the biggest difference. So if your legs swell and your nights are interrupted, give them a lift, literally. It might just change your sleep. Number 3. Dinner redesign. For years, I thought I was being healthy with my evening meals. A fresh salad with cherry tomatoes, a drizzle of balsamic vinaigrette, maybe a light vegetable soup on the side. Nothing fried, nothing heavy. It felt virtuous, clean, even. But night after night, I kept waking up to pee. At first once, then twice, and eventually 3 times a night. What I didn't realize then, and wish someone had told me sooner, is that certain foods we consider healthy can quietly irritate the bladder. Tomatoes, especially when raw, are acidic. So is balsamic vinegar. And that cozy cup of soup? It's basically warm water with sodium, meaning it acts as a late-night diuretic. According to the Urology Care Foundation, acidic foods and broths can stimulate the bladder and increase urine production, especially in people over 60 whose systems are more sensitive. The turning point came one night when I was reading a Mayo Clinic article about bladder irritants. I recognized every ingredient from my healthy dinners. It felt like I'd been tricking myself with good intentions. So I started making changes, slowly at first. I moved dinner time up from 7:30 p.m. to 6 p.m. That gave my body more time to digest before sleep. I swapped raw tomatoes for roasted sweet potatoes, kale salads for sautéed spinach. Instead of soup, I made a small plate of quinoa with steamed broccoli and a sprinkle of turmeric. And you know what? I didn't just sleep better. I started to feel better overall. No more waking up with acid reflux at midnight. No more racing to the bathroom at 2 a.m. My stomach felt calmer, and surprisingly, so did my mood. Cooking became something I looked forward to again, not just a chore. Turns out, dinner doesn't have to be fancy. It just has to be kind, to your bladder, your belly, and your sleep. Changing what's on your plate might just be the simplest way to reclaim your nights. Number 4. Sleep position revolution. Back in my younger years, I'd fall asleep in any position, on my stomach, curled up on my back, half twisted like a pretzel. I never thought twice about it. Sleep came easy then. But in recent years, I found myself waking up groggy and stiff, and always heading straight to the bathroom. I chalked it up to aging. After all, don't we all get up a couple of times a night when we're older? But one evening, while reading an article from the Journal of Urology, something caught my eye. Sleep position matters. Specifically, they noted that sleeping on your left side can reduce pressure on the bladder and support lymphatic and kidney drainage. The science made sense. When you lie on your left, your internal organs shift in a way that frees the bladder and improves digestion. I'd never connected posture to nocturia before, so I decided to experiment. I started by building a sleep nest. I tucked a firm pillow behind my back to prevent rolling, another soft one between my knees to keep my hips aligned. It wasn't comfortable at first. My body complained, especially my shoulders, but after a few nights, I adjusted. Within a week, the difference was startling. I was falling asleep faster, tossing less, and waking up only once, sometimes not at all. And in the mornings, something wonderful happened. My hips didn't ache like they used to. I could swing my legs out of bed without that old familiar stiffness. Even my mood was better. More rested, less snappy. Who would have thought something as simple as how I slept could have such a big impact on how I felt? The right sleeping position, especially for us women in our golden years, isn't just about comfort. It's about circulation, joint health, and yes, better bladder control. Sometimes, healing doesn't come from pills or diets. Sometimes, it comes from a pillow in the right place. Number 5. Double voiding and bladder retraining. I used to think I was being smart, practical even. Every night before bed, I'd visit the bathroom 2, sometimes 3 times, just in case. It felt like insurance against waking up later. But ironically, it trained my bladder to wake me for no good reason. Over time, my body became too efficient at sending that time to go signal, even when there was barely anything there. I'd feel the urge, get up, and barely pass a trickle. It became a frustrating cycle, disrupted sleep for no real payoff. Then one evening, while browsing the Mayo Clinic website, I stumbled upon a section on bladder training. According to urology experts, our bladders are adaptable. Just like any muscle or organ, they learn from repetition. If we teach them to empty at the slightest signal, they'll keep doing it. But if we gently challenge them to wait a bit longer, they regain their full holding power. That hit home. So I started what's called double voiding. Right before bed, I'd sit and empty my bladder. Then, I'd return to my chair, read a short poem or say a quiet prayer, and go again 10 minutes later. That second trip often released more than I expected. Turns out, we don't always empty completely the first time. The real magic came from retraining the urge. When I felt that early evening twinge to go, I'd delay just 5 minutes. Then 10. Slowly, night by night, my bladder learned it didn't need to panic. Within 2 weeks, I was sleeping 5 to 6 hours without interruption. That kind of sleep, the deep kind, changed my entire day. I woke up clearer, more balanced, even a little braver. Here's the truth I wish someone had told me sooner. Our bladders aren't broken, they're just misunderstood. And with a little patience and practice, they can remember how to rest through the night. Just like we do. I'd love to tell you it was all fixed with snacks and pillows, but that wouldn't be the whole truth. There was a moment, not long after my fall, when I noticed something new, an uncomfortable burning sensation. And then one morning, a pink tinge in the toilet bowl. That's when I stopped guessing. I scheduled another appointment, this time not just for answers, but for action. We ran tests to rule out more serious conditions. Urinary tract infections, diabetes, and even potential side effects from one of my blood pressure pills. Thankfully, none of them were to blame. But I did learn something crucial. Pelvic floor muscles weaken with age, especially after childbirth, menopause, or years of chronic urgency. A pelvic floor physical therapist showed me how strengthening those muscles could improve my control and reduce urgency. I began a gentle routine of Kegel exercises, coached weekly. Within a month, I wasn't just waking up less. I was more confident moving through my day. No more rushing to the bathroom during bingo night. It taught me something important. If you see blood, burning, or feel excessive thirst, don't chalk it up to aging. Listen to your body. Rule out danger, then start rebuilding strength where it counts. Evening checklist. After weeks of trial and error, I finally crafted a bedtime routine that didn't just help. It transformed my nights. And now, every Thursday at our senior center, I share it with others who feel just as helpless as I once did. Here's what's taped to my refrigerator. A checklist that changed everything. Legs elevated by 6:30 p.m. 2 pillows under my calves while I catch the last few rounds of Jeopardy. Dinner before 6 p.m. Always warm, never spicy, no tomatoes or soup. I've learned the hard way. No fluids after 7 p.m. Not even herbal tea. Just a small glass of water beside the bed, only for true emergencies. Breathable pajamas. Cotton only. No tight waistbands. I tossed the synthetic nightgowns years ago. Room temp set to 67 degrees Fahrenheit. Cool enough to support melatonin, but not so cold I wake up stiff. It's not a fancy list. No magic supplements. Just habits based on body logic and common sense. But when I follow it, my nights are calmer, and my mornings feel like mine again. What I wish I knew 10 years ago. If I could go back a decade and speak to my 64-year-old self, I wouldn't scare her with talk about falls or adult diapers. I'd sit beside her and gently say, it doesn't have to be like this. You see, back then I thought waking up to pee 4 times a night was the price of aging. I thought herbal teas were healthy, and late dinners were harmless. I thought the bladder was a beast I couldn't tame. What I didn't know. Timing is everything. Not just what you eat or drink, but when you do it. Tomatoes aren't evil. Neither is soup. But they need a curfew. After 6 p.m., my body reacts differently. Slower digestion, more urine, lighter sleep. I also wish I'd known about bladder retraining earlier. Or the role that sleep position plays. And how vasopressin, a hormone I'd never heard of, quietly rules our night. The truth. Aging is real. But suffering doesn't have to be. I didn't need to surrender my nights. I just needed to understand them. And I didn't need to give up my favorite foods. I just gave them a bedtime. These days, I sleep 6, sometimes 7 hours straight. No more bruises. No more pacing the hallway. I wake up steady, clear-minded, and ready to paint, garden, or hug my grandkids when they burst through the door. I didn't need a miracle. I needed information. I needed the courage to listen to my body, not dismiss it. If you're out there thinking this is just part of getting older, I want to tell you something. You are not broken. Your body isn't done. It's just trying to talk to you. And once you understand the rhythm of that conversation, everything changes.